Jesse, I think you're ready to start. Yeah.
Great. All right. Welcome, everybody, to our June regular meeting of the Athens-Clarke County Board of Elections. We're going to get started. First, I need to make sure that all our members are here. So I'm just going to go down the line with roll call. Mr. Napper.
Present.
Ms. Fambro.
Here.
Ms. Till.
Here.
And Mr. Raffle. Cool. All right. We're trying something a little different this time. We're going to start with reading of the board member oath of office. So I'll do that this time around. Ms. Fambro and I discussed possibly this being done like on a rotating basis. Other members different member doing it each time we start, just to remind us all of what we're doing and why we're here. So I'll go ahead and read that. So this is under OCGA 21-2-70. The oath, it says, I do swear or affirm that I will, as a member of the Board of Elections, duly attend all ensuing primaries and elections during the continuance thereof, that I will, to the best of my ability, prevent any fraud, deceit, or abuse in carrying on the same, will make a true and perfect return of such primaries and elections, and that I will at all times truly, impartially, and faithfully perform my duties in accordance with the Georgia laws to the best of my judgment and ability. That's just, again, the oath that we've all sworn as board members. So the item B is to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. So board members would go ahead and look at the regular scheduled meeting minutes for May 5th. Do we have a motion to adopt the minutes?
So moved to adopt the minutes.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Is there any discussion? There's one thing that I see at the very first 1, 2, 3, 4 words of the minutes. A special called meeting, and that this was not a special called meeting. This is our regular meeting, our regular session. So the word, it should say this the regular session, or the regular meeting of the Athens-Clarke County Board of Elections was held on Tuesday, May 5th. That's the first sentence there. And then the language down there at the bottom that Mr. Raffle made at the very end of old business, or sorry, new business. Mr. Raffle, does that satisfy you as far as the language of that as it's written?
It does. I went ahead and read that again, and it does.
Okay. Cool.
And I can revise my motion if you'd like, so that it reflects the change in the very first sentence.
Please.
All right. Let me scroll to that if I say it correctly. I move that we approve the minutes. Someone has a microphone unmuted and it's feeding back. Anyway, I move to approve the minutes from the May 5th meeting with one change, removing the words special called meeting from the very first sentence of the minutes and replacing that with regular meeting.
And do we have the second there?
Second.
Okay, I'll go down the line and call the roll for a vote. Mr. Napper.
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Fambro, aye. Ms. Till
Aye.
and Mr. Raffle.
Aye.
It's unanimous. The minutes have been approved. Moving on to the next item, item C, to adopt the agenda. Do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
This is Rocky, and I move to adopt the agenda as it is.
All right, thank you, Mr. Raffle. Do we have a second to adopt the agenda?
I second.
All right, motion and a second have been made. I'll go down the line for the roll call vote. Mr. Napper,
Aye.
Ms. Fambro,
Aye.
Ms. Till,
Aye.
and Mr. Raffle.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. It's unanimous. The agenda has been adopted. And now we're moving to the director's update. And Director Sosby, I'll turn it over to you.
Good afternoon, board. I would like to say hello to all of you. It's been a very busy week, I might add, though our turnout has not been what I was expecting. There's still other tasks that need our attention prior to election day. So we've been very busy this week, and Chairman Evans, you have witnessed that with our deliveries, how how complex our days are prior to the election. So I'll go right into the update. On our activity report, you'll see that we've had or added 6,087 voters who are inactive, and our current registered active voters is 73,474. We've added 186 voters this month and made 17,826 changes. Again, the last day to register to vote was May 11th, so this number will not be as high as it is now. Did not make many voter identification cards for the month. Usually that number is high. We did 21, and those all have taken place since we've opened. Our office has been shut down since the COVID outbreak. And so we opened back up right as early voting started. And since then, we have created 21 voter IDs. Let's see, I wanted to note there aren't any felon removals or citizenship. None of those have numbers there because of the those reports haven't been run yet. I'll just put it like that. The next item is our absentee ballots. We have ballot boxes that were installed this week. In fact, only one was installed. It was at the fire station on Barnett Shoals. So right now in Athens-Clarke County, there are 4 ballot box locations that our voters are taking advantage of. We noticed there haven't been as many ballots deposited at Transit, but the day that the fire station box was installed, there was, I think, 3 ballots already there when we went to pick up, which was within an hour. So that lets me know that, people are going to be using our ballot box drops, and that's what we want. I'll have you a number of register or how many ballots we have received in just a few minutes. I just pulled that report, but I'll go on to advanced voting for our turnout. Week 1, we had a total of 389 voters who took advantage of the voting in our office. On week 2, 291. So that leads us to Saturday and Sunday voting. On Saturday, we only had 43 voters who come into the office and voted early. On Sunday, we had 30. Then the start of this week at Cooperative Extension, on Monday, we had 17 voters. Yesterday, Tuesday, we had 14. At Miriam Moore on Monday, we had 6. And then yesterday, we had 7. And of course, the library, we had 44. And on Monday, and then on Tuesday, 54. And for our office this week, we've had 120 that voted on Monday, 126 on yesterday. So we're still getting our voters here at the office, but we have our other locations. The next item, while we have the time for broadcasting, I want to make note that today we will have the office extended to 7 p.m. as well as our other locations. So if any voter who wants to vote early, they can do that until 7 p.m. today. And then on Thursday and Friday from 10:30 to 5:30 at our satellite locations, and then 8 a.m. until 5:30 p.m. here at the office. The privacy voting, we are.
So, do you mind if I ask a question?
Sure.
What are we doing to promote to inform the public of the satellite locations? How are we, putting that out there right now?
Well, we've been advertising since early part of May, and it's on our website. And every opportunity that I've had to speak with the media, I've highlighted those locations, and it has run in our paper. But that's what we've done. It's been on our Facebook page, I believe, and that's it.
Okay, thank you. I'm just thinking down the line. I'm wondering about this election, but also future elections this year about most effective ways to get the word out. I'm thinking WXAG, having a advertisement or something on there. That radio station, maybe the NPR radio station. Also social media presence. We could maybe raise awareness of these opportunities through social media. These are just ideas that I have off the cuff. We can revisit it, after this election. I just wanted to make sure that people are fully, we're getting as many people as possible to know what their options are and that they have these available. These are news sites we haven't really used very often, and I just want to make sure we're doing everything we can to raise awareness.
Yes, and I believe it was last week. I was on WXAG live broadcast with Lady B, and we've also had it on our social media. So we're doing some. Maybe we could do a little more. That's what we did for this election. And I'll back up and tell you that absentee ballots, we've issued 18,437 ballots. And we've received 10,027 that we've received back. We're counting. Was hoping that number would be a little bit higher, but it still looks good compared to other elections, of course. Okay, so I'll go on to voter privacy layouts and election day polling locations. I have visited two schools, one that would have a layout where the voters would vote in the library, not the library, the lunchroom, and the other where the voters would assemble in the gym. And it looks like those layouts will be very successful as far as privacy and um, the way we would practice social distancing. Those locations look very good. I visited the library prior to advanced voting and studied the layouts for advanced voting as well as election day. If time permits, I will visit some of the other locations, but it's been very hard to leave the office. And I wanted to kind of lay my eyes on the locations with Laney, who provided some very immaculate layouts on paper and provided the electrical capacity of each location. But I wanted to have my eyes on it too, to make sure that all angles are handled, put a little bit of my 30-year expertise on it, I guess that's what I would say. But I want to let you know that right before the elections, we will have those layouts perfected. Not sure that we'll have them available because, of course, Lainey would have to make her do her upgrades on them and everything and revise them and everything, but they will be ready and ready before the next election. Polling signs. I was going to say the signs are in production, but they fast signs got them to us really fast, and they look really good. We have some signs that will be posted at our new locations as well as our old locations. We will put those signs out on Monday so there's no confusion with advanced voting. And we will have signs posted in 3 places or locations in the vicinities on all of the 4 locations that we unmerged. And that will be done on, if not Friday, it'll be done on Monday. The code section says that it has to be on, the signs have to be up the day of the election, but we're going to try to get them in there sooner. Let's see. Number 6, election day. 6A, polling location visits. Of course, we want the board to monitor the process at our locations on election day. And if you find that there are some campaign signs within the 150 feet spectrum, we ask that you would lay them down on the ground or remove them. I would just suggest laying them down on the ground because we don't want anybody to look and say, oh, we have a board member that's toting signs to vote for this person. So that's what we do with the poll managers too. If they see that there's some sign violations, we just ask them to lay them down. I have to share with you that I caught somebody toting a sign into one of the polling precincts. I was like, what are you doing? That was not the way to get rid of the campaign sign. Let's see. Availability throughout the day. Just ask that your board members be available throughout the day for any calls that might come in that we might have to address. I've already spoken with Chairman Evans that, you know, if I get a phone call about something, some type of activities going on at a precinct, usually I'll call him and say, you know, meet me here. We have a situation we might need to address. It doesn't happen often, but if it does, I just ask that you guys be available. If there's a challenge voter throughout the day where a voter, another elector can come in and say, I don't believe this person resides in Athens any longer. So there might have to be a hearing for a challenged voter. I haven't had that happen to me, but if it happens, we're prepared for that. We're going to begin our adjudication and duplication actually on Monday at 11 a.m. And I ask you to be available as well as for the absentee ballot process. It's not necessary that you all come, but it'd be good to have some representation from the board there in case we have questions, at least 2 people. Let's see. And I think we probably should do a notice, maybe starting with Monday, just in case there's more than two board members, to just say that board members may um, appear for observing of the absentee ballots so that we're within the code of open meetings. We want to make sure, because that would be a quorum if it's more than two. And we'll also make note of that you will be out in the precincts monitoring and available on election day. So we'll have to make sure we do a notice on that. All right. The board meeting on election days at 5 p.m. We need to be mindful of that time because by 7 p.m. we need to be preparing to do an upload of our absentee ballots. And that's my hope, that's my goal, that we're ready at 7 p.m. no later than 7:30. And so it's just some things that we need to be doing at 7:30 that's not associated with absentee, like voting results from the precincts will be coming in. So we need to be mindful that that meeting not be long that day. And what I will ask for you to have on your agenda, if you would, just to have items that might need to be addressed of something that might have happened at the polls on that day, or a call or an email that you might have received, and how we handled that call, any troubleshooting that you had to do, anything that you witnessed at the polling precincts that day. If you would just have that on the agenda, and the other items that you might have, we can address at a regular board meeting. We talked about early tabulation and absentee processing. The vote review panel, they will be on hand starting Monday at 11 a.m. And then there is an assignment sheet that you received prior to this meeting that just indicates the assignments that we ask that you assist us with. And it's just basically gathering and receiving the forms from our poll managers when they come in on election night. And we'll go over that prior to them coming in. Canvassing and computation. Mr. Chairman, I think you got on your agenda that the times will be announced later. So if y'all will establish the times for computation and canvassing and the day or the time for us to consider the provisional ballots, that would be great. So we can get that on our schedule. So it'll coincide with what we have here in the office. Certification of the election be on June 18th. And that gives us time to get everything signed and even give us time to go over, our results with you, because you may have some questions about the results. So we've allotted time for that before you sign anything, so we can go over, what's been added to the official results, because by then we will have the provisional ballots included in there. We will have the UOCAVA ballots that came in by Friday of election week. We'll have all of those added. So there'll be time for us to go over that and even understand the report ourselves, because this is all a new system to us, as you all know. Let's see, the update on the quarantine equipment. There just isn't an update right now. There's a lot of focus on the election right now, but I've been told by the Secretary of State's office that they will keep us updated on what would be done with those units. The open records requests, you have those in your packet. And I'm thinking, and I don't believe there's anything else that I have for my update for today. I'm here for questions or comments.
Director Sosby, do you have the dates and times available for the absentee ballot processing? It's going to take place, the early tabulation.
I do. It's on tomorrow, starts tomorrow from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. And then on Saturday from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Then we will start on Monday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And on election day, 9 a.m. until completion, and I hope that completion time is at 7:10, 7:15.
Thank you. And these are open to the public as well, right?
That is correct. It is open to the public, but we're keeping in mind that we want to, you know, practice social distancing. So we're going to be in a training room that will consist of our board members, our staff, and those vote review panels who are appointed by either a party or by the Superior Court judge. And then we also will have monitors there who've been appointed by either a candidate or by a party. So the rule says that there should be two Democrat, two Republican, and then one for each candidate who so wishes to have a monitor in the room. So that starts to add up. So far, we only have two who've been appointed by a candidate, and we have, I believe, the two or one from one of the parties. So we're still getting that list. And so we've got to make sure we maintain as much as possible the social distancing rule. Keep that in mind.
Go ahead, Mr. Ravel.
I kind of took notes while you were talking the entire time, Director. So just off your most recent comment, has the Democratic Party put forward a monitor yet?
I have only a vote review panelist. It's all I've received from the Democratic Party. But I have
So
not received the monitor.
the Democratic Party chairperson is allowed to put forward a monitor as well?
Yes, two people.
Two. Okay. That's good to know. Thank you very much for that. Just kind of, I took notes as you were talking, so there's just a few random questions. But going back to the beginning, it was my understanding that the cooperative extension ballot drop box was to be installed earlier this week, if not late last week. Am I misunderstanding, or was there a holdup on that? What's the status on that?
Yes, so last week, it had to do with the weather, but I'll have to check with our facilities management. I understood it would be installed this week, but I'm not sure what the holdup is. I'll
Okay,
have to check with
because
them to find
you
out.
know, we all know what day it is, and we know what's happening next week. So, could you provide me with an update tomorrow, or not necessarily just me, but the board with an update on the installation of that by tomorrow afternoon?
I can probably get you an update soon, but I'll try to get an update.
Okay, thank you very much. And then my next question is, the chairman had brought this up regarding advertising for the future, not the future, but the November election. Is there in your budget, I've not seen your budget too closely, is there money in your budget specifically lined out for advertising?
Did not put any more in advertising than what the state requires of us. I didn't put any additional like the billboards like I did before.
Okay. So perhaps we could add that to the new business after this election, Mr. Chairperson, for a future agenda. And then, since this is my first election day as a member of the board, I wanted to just kind of go through some logistical things, unless that'll be covered. Is there a badge, or do I just show up and say I'm a board member? Chances are the poll worker will not know me personally.
Yes, you would wear your badge. Do you have a badge? Name tag?
I have a little lapel pin you gave me, but besides that, I do not have anything additional.
So it says, does it say your name and then that you're a board member?
No, I do not have that.
Okay. We'll have to check on that because it was ordered for you and we thought that you had it. So we'll have to see if we can get a rush on.
So,
There's one there, Miss.
Rocky, do you have one of these?
no, I do not.
Okay, well, you should have two.
I do not have any. I have a lapel pen that says election official or something to that effect, but I do not have that. So I'm glad that I asked. Could I come to the office during the voter tabulation on Monday to pick it up?
We'll have to order it, so we're gonna have to check on it, because we think it was ordered. We may just still have it here in the office. So Aletha will let you know.
Okay, I'll reach out to Aletha tomorrow morning and we'll figure that out. We don't need to waste more time on that conversation. Okay. And so the voter tabulation is beginning tomorrow, you said,
That's correct.
at the Lexington Road or downtown?
Lexington Road.
And then I believe you answered my other questions as you were talking. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you for the time.
Jesse, your mic is muted.
Thank you so much. Do any other board members have questions or comments for Director Sosby and her update? All right, seeing none, Director Sosby, does this conclude your update?
Yes, it does.
Thank you very much. We will move forward to the next agenda item, which is public comment. I haven't seen any public comment. Was any public comment provided to staff?
Have not had any comments submitted to the office.
I'm double checking right now. Last time there was somebody that submitted right as the meeting started. Yeah, I don't have anything in my inbox either for email. So, all right.
Mr. Chairman, I think you sent out public comment from Linda Bishop about postage.
That was from our previous meeting. That's in our minutes, but that's from our previous meeting. We just approved the minutes for. That was the one person who presented public comment for our previous meeting.
Okay, I thought I just saw it in the last day or two.
Yeah, it's just there for the minutes in that document. Okay, cool. So we're gonna move forward with the next agenda item. Let's see. Old business, ballot secrecy for June 9th. Director Sosby or Lisa or whoever on staff, would somebody speak to the guidance, the directive that poll managers have been given for implementation of board policy that we adopted on April 1st?
I can do that, Charlotte. So all managers have been given a copy of your resolution, and they were all briefed on what it means and told to read the entire document and understand it. We have gotten into the office the foam core boards that we talked about putting into the center of the voting booth, which would go between the printer and the BMD. So we bought all that we could within our budget for that, and we're sending them out to all of the locations to be used in any of the machines that at this time there's no other alternative except to place them facing into the center of the room. So they'll be given that, and they'll also be given the blocks of styrofoam that we've talked about for the styrofoam rest to lay them back at a 35-degree angle. We're also working on purchasing something to extend the screens on the side for if they're placed side by side. So that's where we are with that.
Thank you. Are there any questions from any of the board members? All right, moving right along. Next item is voting equipment delivery plan. I've been working on this with Lisa, like for weeks now. And Lisa, do you want to talk about it, or do you want me to talk about it?
You're probably best to talk about it since you developed most of the plan. So go ahead and I'll fill in if you need me.
Okay. So this is the first time in that I can recall us having this much equipment to deliver, but two, having to deliver it all in one day. And previously, the equipment was delivered in across 2 different days, but we're doing all 24 locations on June 8th. We're going to be delivering the equipment, and I've analyzed what we need to do. I've created a load plan. I actually loaded up a 26-foot moving truck to, as full as it could go, and we've got layouts and photos, and we've also got routes we're going to be giving the drivers. We've got a communications plan in place, and Mr. Napper, thank you for helping me to identify on overhead aerial view photos best entrances for each location. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. Is basically there's going to be morning delivery and there's going to be afternoon delivery, and we're using moving trucks, 26-foot moving trucks and cargo vans to get the equipment out there. Lisa, did you have anything to add?
No, it's just the trucks are rented. I think we've done all we can do up to this moment to make it work as well as possible. We have all of the people in place who are going to help us. Like you said, everybody's been briefed on what they need to do. There's probably a couple of things that we should talk about before the end of the day, maybe when the meeting's over, but I think that we're good right now.
Cool. Are there any questions from board members about the delivery of voting equipment? All right, moving on. Thank you, Lisa, and other staff who've helped me to do this. What's up, Rocky?
I just wanted to thank you for putting this plan together. You and Lisa working on this, making sure it goes smoothly. So thank you so much for that.
My pleasure. Thank you for the thank you. Number 3, updating quarantine. It's already been, voting machines. That's already been covered in the director's update. Number 4, absentee ballot postage. Can we have an update, Director Sosby, on absentee ballot postage?
Yes, so we have not received any invoices as of yet from the post office of any ballots that didn't have sufficient postage on it. However, we do expect to receive something from them if there is, because the Mayor and Commission voted to approve us additional postage for that matter if we need it. So again, any ballot that doesn't have sufficient postage on it will be received by the post office, and we will cover the postage.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from board members? I have a question, Director Sosby. Do we have a business reply account for the Board of Elections office? Is that how this is going to work? Or are we using the ACC Unified Government business reply account?
No, it will come from our account. We've made contact with the post office to let them know that we expect an invoice from them. So yeah, we'll be using our account from our postage.
Could we put out a notice to the public that this is that we've taken care of this, and that postage, for anyone who can't provide, or for anyone who needs help with that, they can just send in their ballot without postage, and we will take care of that. Is that something we could put out on the website, and maybe social media? And I don't know if maybe put it out in the local Oregon, like the paper.
I'm not sure if we can. I'll have to find out for sure because we don't want it to seem like it's some kind of gratuity to our voters, but we do know that that service is there.
Yeah, this is the attorney. I'd have the same concern, if we go that far and push that we're doing it, whether we'll be sued saying we were violating their gratuities clause in the Georgia Constitution at this point. I understand there's a lot of concern about that and some litigation that's been filed related to it, but I think if, I feel comfortable, I know other boards of elections are paying that in other communities, but if we start advertising, say you want to put postage on there, I think that might get us into some trouble legally.
Do you mind explaining the gratuity that you were talking about just now, Mr. Gray?
Well, the gratuities clause basically states that you can't, a governmental entity can't just give money out to a citizen. And I could write a more, more detailed memo on it, but that's basically what it says. And that's what it says. There's a few exceptions to it, but I think that, and I think that's one of the reasons that the state Secretary of State's office is putting these boxes out there to try and, provide a means for people to vote. I do share the same concern that if we start advertising, don't worry about putting postage on it, there's a better chance we could get challenged on that.
Mr. Drake, what about just putting that in the minutes here, in our minutes, and also maybe just putting it on the website? Would that be acceptable?
Putting well, we've already said we're going to pay it if they don't, and the way I look at it is more of a thing where we're assuming now it's a matter where they forgot to put the postage on there, so it's a justification as to why we chose to pay it. I understand. I don't know if it's a practice this Board of Elections has done, but I know the Macon-Duke County Board of Elections has carried forth this practice for a number of years, but they don't advertise it, And,
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, if someone believes that it wouldn't count unless they put the stamps on there, and then maybe they can't afford it, then we would be possibly disadvantaging people who can't afford the 2 postage stamps. If
I think the reality is we all know that's an issue that is also being litigated. And I think the reality is too, until a court rules on it, we could just be challenged. And I think that it would not be approved. I would not recommend you just say don't represent postage on there. But that's as far as I can. I can only give you my recommendation, and that's what that's my thoughtful consideration of the matter.
all right, I appreciate it. I thank you. Is there any other questions?
And I would say, hopefully, we get some guidance legally on it moving forward. Some of these court cases,
Yeah, that would be great, particularly for the coming elections, November, and quite possibly August as well.
Right.
All right, thank you so much. Are there any other questions or comments from board members about absentee ballot postage? All right, thank you to staff for making that request on our behalf, and and thank you to the Mayor and Commission for approving that. Director Sosby, you've already covered absentee ballot drop boxes. And do any members have any questions or comments on that?
I do. I'd just like to commend Director Sosby and her staff on taking my quite demanding requests regarding the ballot drop boxes. They do look very nice, and I really appreciate the urgency in getting the first couple out. I hope that we can get this cooperative extension 1 installed by tomorrow afternoon would be ideal. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Raffle. Any other board members have questions or comments about ballot drop boxes? Director Sosby, I want to say thank you as well and echo Mr. Raffle's comment. And I also want to say or ask about the replacement we talked about, how there are going to be 5 other boxes that are on order. Is that what you said?
By November, we will have some more some drop boxes installed by November. But I did get an update on that 5th drop box. Right now, we've had trouble finding a 5th box, and we've gone to the post office to see if they have some old USPS drop boxes, and they're continuing to look for them. So the new boxes should be here within a couple of weeks. So we know for sure we'll have 5 boxes before November. We do know that.
Okay. So can we just pull the plug on the cooperative extension one for the election next week?
Yes, we will have to if we don't find one. But we have not advertised that we have one at cooperative extension yet. By law, we have to advertise within 24 hours where it's installed. So what I've done is just hold off on the advertising until we actually get it installed. So yes, we will not worry about the cooperative extension if we don't get it installed by tomorrow or by Friday.
And then this doesn't sound like it is the case, but my preference, at least, I don't know about the others, is that we do not install the new ones until after this election. It will just cause way more confusion if we start swapping them out until this June 9th election is completed.
Yes, that's correct. These will be installed in a couple of weeks. So yeah, this will be far after the election.
Okay. And could you provide like another mock-up again, be prior to their installation so we don't have to go back and forth on them? I know that I've seen some photos of the Cobb County box and the design on the box, and I think it's really good. I know they have it on their website. So if you would take a look at that and we could emulate that somehow, I think it would work for everyone. They did a good job of designing the exterior of it.
I believe our boxes look probably, if not just like Cobb County, we all use the same vendor for the
Sure.
boxes.
But I don't know about the graphics or the exterior of them, you know. I'm happy to send you a photo if you'd like that I received of it.
Yes, I've seen a copy of what their box looks like, and yes, the same company would do the graphics. It's the company that the box was purchased from.
Okay. So they'll be kind of uniformed throughout the state from county to county? Or is it up to the individual county?
It'll be up to the individual county because we all don't have the same funding.
Sure.
So I would say that our boxes look a lot better than some counties I've seen. And unfortunately, we've all been handed, I'm going to say, a bill that a lot of us can't pay. But thankfully, we have the funding for our boxes. And I have to commend the facilities department for what they've done because they've basically, they've done a lot. They've installed it in the middle of their schedule. They've even paid the cost of some of this. And so I appreciate that. So we were given a rule from the state election board that we needed to have this. And within a day of, we had a box available for our voters. So I'm thankful for that. And we'll just move forward with what we have. And I'm sure it's something we'll be all pleased with.
Sure. So I guess my ask is if we could please see the mock-up and the information prior to the next round being installed.
Yes, I will do that.
Director Sosby, has the order already been placed?
Would you repeat that again, Mr. Chairman? I didn't hear you.
Director Sosby, has the order for these 5 other boxes been placed already?
Yes.
Okay. So we kind of already have you probably already have an idea what they're going to look like, right?
I've just got to get the information from the vendor.
Okay, great. Any other questions or comments from board members about these ballot drop boxes? All right, and this is a good segue into the CARES Act grant application. Director Sosby, do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So I have submitted grant applications. If I could back up to the HAVA grant, I've submitted four applications for the HAVA and 2 as of today for the CARES grant. One for the ballot boxes and the other for PPE. Of course, I haven't received any feedback or an update on the grants that I presented for the HAVA. I've just sent in an email to get an update on those, but yes, I've submitted the last of the grant applications that I was supposed to send on behalf of our county.
Thank you so much for doing that. Would you mind sharing with the board when you get word back, sort of letting the board know the amounts that we're awarded, and just a description of what exactly the grants are for? Is that okay?
Sure, and I'll just go ahead and tell you that the PPE grant, I believe is $3,000, up to $3,000, and it's a reimbursement, and as well as the drop boxes, it is $3,000. So my hope is that we will be awarded the $3,000 for the drop boxes, but for PPE, we did not spend any more than, I believe, $1,800. Actually $1,100. So I expect a reimbursement of at least $1,000 of that. But yes, I can update you when we receive the reimbursement.
Great. And the HAVA grants, are those along the same lines?
Yeah, actually HAVA is a little different. HAVA would award us 90% of our expenditure, and I sent several of those. As I said, about 5 I sent for HAVA. And I understood that we should have received our reimbursements last month. That's why, I know there's been a lot of people out of office with the holiday as well as COVID-19. So maybe that's the delay, but I did reach out to the grant dispersing office at the Secretary of State's office. I did reach out to them today, and I hope to get an update, and I'll be able to update you as well as our finance department that money is coming.
Thank you so much, Director Sosby. Any other board members have questions or comments about these grants? All right. Moving right along to new business. Item number 1 is to adopt our mission statement. I provided board members and staff with copies of the mission statement. So some background here. We as a board had, I think it was 4 board development sessions throughout 2019. And what we got out of that, the 2 products that we produced from that are our bylaws and our mission statement. And we adopted the bylaws in the January 2020 meeting. We officially adopted those bylaws, and we were supposed to be adopting the mission statement. We had a meeting back in November 2019. It was our last board development session, and the understanding was that we would be putting that on the agenda for the next regular session, and that hasn't been done yet. So I just wanted to make sure we circle back around and put this on this agenda so we can actually adopt the mission statement that we put so much work into during 2019. So the text of the mission statement is an email. The board members, I'll read it aloud now, and we can go from there. So the mission statement says, the ACC Board of Elections, all members of our community, as well as our local, state, and federal governments, We will be sure to consider and meet the needs of groups of people who have historically been marginalized and oppressed in our community. The ACC Board of Elections shall maximize voter and community participation as we ensure access to free and fair elections and protect the integrity of the elections process. To accomplish this, the ACC Board of Elections shall provide high-quality voter education and accurate information, uphold the oaths that we've sworn or affirmed, support Athens-Clarke County Board of Elections staff, and do anything else that is necessary to accomplish our mission. Period. So that's the language that we came up with over multiple meetings and our board development sessions. So I will open the, well, I'll ask, do we have a motion to adopt the mission statement?
You probably didn't hear me, but I say I move that we adopt this mission statement.
Great, thank you. I hear you now. So Cambro just made the motion to adopt the mission statement. Do we have a second?
This is Rocky. We can second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to adopt the mission statement. Is there any discussion or questions about the mission statement?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, my phone lost the connection and I'm just rejoining you. But I have a couple of questions I'd like to ask.
Go ahead, Ms. Hill.
I know when we began this task of writing the mission statement with Catherine Bennett, we went through several meetings to come up with language, and we each wrote separate papers on what we thought the mission statement should say. And as I recall, this was last November, you volunteered to do a Google Doc and collected our papers and would put those on the Google Doc for us to make comments and edits to that. I don't know that we ever did that.
Thank you, Ms. Till. So if November 13th, there was, actually Ms. Mocha Johnson responded to me as she received notice of this and the email of it on November 13th at 7:55 a.m. That was about a week before the board meeting or the board development session. And it's a Google Doc that I created entitled Mission Statement Collaborative Drafting Document. And if you, and like I said, I've just checked the settings. All five board members at the time had editing rights to it, including Ms. Till, Mr. Napper, Allison Wright, and Mocha Johnson, and myself. I can send the PDF if you'd like, but the document included pictures, included images of the notes that were taken by all board members. So that was a collaborative space that I created and provided to the board for that. And then we met again on November 19th, I believe. And actually it was me, Mr. Napper, and Ms. Johnson, Mocha Jasmine Johnson, met for the fourth and final board development session of that series. And we took all these ideas and synthesized them into one mission statement. That's the one that I just read to the group. But yeah, that's.
Well, I never remember seeing any document on a PDF on Google Doc And then when this was finalized, somebody's microphone must be on because I'm getting feedback. And then I never received any final document. If all of you voted on it, it seems that I would have received by text or printed document or something that all that was going on, but I never remember seeing any of that.
Thank you. Yeah, that's why I wanted to make sure that I sent it out. We have 2 new board members now that were not with us at the time. Actually, I believe Ms. Famber might have been in attendance at that meeting as a member of the audience for public, the public viewing there. But she was before she was actually on the board. But that's why I sent out the language of this mission statement earlier today to make sure that everybody had a copy of it.
Yes, I saw that on the agenda that I got at 9 o'clock this morning, and then I received your document at 1:38 this afternoon. So I thought for transparency, it might not be a bad idea to just make a motion to table voting on this just until our next meeting to give me and anyone else time to look over it and give it some serious thought. And I don't think that that would really be asking very much since we've waited since November or December or January for this.
Is there any, so I hear what you're saying, and I guess I would ask, are there any other board members that have a view on this?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I think we should table this until the next meeting, where everybody will have Rocky and Will have to look over this and make sure that verbiage is correct and those kinds of things. I'll be since we've waited 6-7 months already. 1 more month will not make a difference, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Napper. So my perspective on this is that we spent 4 meetings on this, creating this over time, and we were actually supposed to have adopted this when we adopted the bylaws. We were supposed to have done this, and for some reason that didn't take place. So I would just wonder if Mr. Raffle, Ms. Fambro, if based upon their reading of the statement and their understanding of the statement, if they would be comfortable doing it today or if they would rather wait until next month.
So I did have a chance to read it thoroughly this afternoon when you sent it at 1 o'clock or whatever time it was early this afternoon. And I was not part of the discussion. I don't know anything about it except for the email that I received this afternoon. But I read it and I think it sounds good. I don't see anything wrong with it. Yeah, that's all I have to add for that.
Okay, Ms. Fambro.
I read the document a bunch of times. And everything that is on it is what we should be doing anyway. Legally, I can't say, maybe we should ask the attorney. If there's nothing on there that's legally prohibiting us from this document right now, I'm prepared to vote on it.
Mr. Drake.
I have not read the document closely. I listened. I've not read the document at all. I listened to Mr. Chairman Evans just read it out. I didn't hear anything that gave me cause for alarm, but if I'm being asked to render opinion, I'd like the opportunity to read it closely. So I wouldn't want to just say it's fine. I think it sounded fine, but I don't want to, everything being so with the importance of elections. I don't want to just give an off-the-cuff answer. But so if you were asking me to give an opinion, I want to read it myself and study it, make sure.
I can amend my motion to take into account that you need to read that.
Okay, that's fine. If I see an issue, I'll come back to you.
Yeah, I would like to amend my motion to say that, we approve it and, without, let me start over. My motion is that we approve, the document with one caveat. And if the attorney comes back, with something that is not legal within the document, then we need to go back and we need to make adjustments. But other than that, if he finds nothing in the document that puts us in any type of peril, I move that we, vote on the document today.
All right, Ms. Fambro, I believe the motion is that we will, motion is to adopt the mission statement, and with the caveat that if there's any legal advice from Mr. Drake, before our next meeting, or that we would go ahead and address that, and amend the mission statement accordingly. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yes.
Okay. And is there a second?
Second by Mr. Raffle.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. I'll go down the list, the roll. Before I do this, is there any further discussion? Okay, I'll go down the line here then, with the vote. Pull up my agenda. Well, I can just remember it, I guess. So Mr. Napper.
Evidently, my mic was off. I was trying to suggest that we give him time to look at this and table this until next month.
Mr. Napper, are you making that motion
Yes,
as a substitute motion?
as a substitute motion. Yes, sir.
Okay, is there a second?
I second the motion.
Don't we have to vote on the first one before you can make a substitute? I'm not sure.
That's a good question. Mr. Drake, would you mind helping us out with that?
I made a motion first that we table it before Willa made a motion. So my motion should stand if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, it has to be seconded though.
Mr. Drake?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look at the Robert's Rules of Order. Hold on just a second.
Okay. Also, Mr. Drake, just so you know, I forwarded you the language of the mission statement as well.
Mr. Napper did second my motion.
Ms. While he's doing that, it was my understanding that we were having a discussion and I didn't hear a motion made or a second. I thought we were just having a conversation about it. But either way, we'll address both, whatever, per the advice of the attorney, whatever.
Yeah, that's the very first motion, I believe, still stands because we didn't vote on it, I think. But Attorney Drake will advise.
I did state that I was making a motion.
And I think that I seconded it.
So Ms. Till, Mr. Napper, do I hear you saying that you would like to vote on the motion to table? Is that what you're saying?
Saying that I made a motion and that Mr. Napper seconded the motion before we got into any other discussion.
I do believe it'd be appropriate if there's a consensus that the person who made the motion that was first and second can withdraw it if y'all agree to withdraw it. But that's just but I'm looking, give me a second.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of an easy solution here. We're going to vote either way on both of them. Or if not, the vote's going to happen, which happen. Doesn't matter the solution. So I am open to, if Ms. Fambro is open to this and Mr. Raffle are open to this, I'm open to, because I didn't understand what Ms. Till said earlier as a motion, and I didn't understand what Mr. Napper said as a second. But if they're claiming that that's what they were doing, I'm open to entertaining uh, prior to voting on Mr. motion, if that's what Mr. Bro is willing to do as well.
Oh, absolutely. You know, we can go ahead and vote on the alleged motion first. It doesn't matter with me.
Rocky?
Yeah, let's just see here, because I believe my interpretation of the rules is the first motion is still on the table unless it was withdrawn.
Yeah, but now there's some disagreement about who made the first motion.
Well, I believe Mr. Napper must have heard my motion for him to second it.
Again, I don't recall a motion and second being made, but prior to Ms. Fambro and Mr. Raffle, but that's okay. We can go ahead and resolve this. Ms. Fambro is okay with withdrawing her motion until we've done the motion to table. Then we can do that as long as Mr. Drake says we can move forward with that.
Here's what it says, page 115 of the 11th edition of the Roberts Rules of Order. Procedures by which the proposal containing the main motion can be improved upon before action is taken. And that's the heading, but subsection 3, I think, is what's applicable. By means of the subsidiary motion to amend, members can propose changes to be made in the wording and within limits the meaning of the pending main motion before it is voted on. These amendments must be seconded, are debatable, and are adopted by a majority vote. Such proposed amendments can take the form of either A, changes to particular words or paragraphs in the main motion, of which several specific types are permitted under the rules for the motion to amend, or a motion to substitute an entire new text of the main motion in place of the pending version. Whatever amendments are adopted, the main motion is then voted on its amended form. So if there's, I think it'd be appropriate to make a motion to substitute for the motion that was on the floor, a motion to table. The way I'm reading this,
So, Mr. Drake, how do you feel about Ms. Fambro just withdrawing her motion momentarily, and then
perfectly fine.
Doing that with going ahead and voting on the motion to table?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I know you can do that. They do that in the commission meeting. Somebody will just agree to withdraw their motion. You can definitely do that.
And Ms. Fambro, I believe, has already expressed that she's willing to do that. She's withdrawing that.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay.
Ms. Fambro would make sure she's willing to do that.
She's nodding her head, but she's going to say.
Absolutely. I'll repeat it again. I withdraw my motion.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you. So, Ms. Till, I believe your motion is to table adoption of this mission statement until our next until our next meeting. Is that accurate?
That would give people time to read what was sent out at 1:38 this afternoon, which really wasn't much time. I know it doesn't seem really important, perhaps, or it doesn't really seem complicated. I take seriously everything that I do. I would like to read over it several times and give consideration to what's said.
So the motion is to table until the next meeting, to table adoption of this mission statement to our next meeting. So I'll just go down the roll. Mr. Napper?
Aye.
Ms. Fambro? Ms. Fambro?
Nay.
Okay. So we have Ms. Till?
Yes.
Mr. Raffle?
No.
And I am casting the tie-breaking vote of a no vote for tabling as well. So, Ms. Fambro, would you like to go ahead and make your motion? Or would you? I can just. Ms. Fambro, is your motion?
How about just stating what I said before, Jesse? That will be my motion. Thank you.
So, Ms. Fambro, I believe your motion is to adopt the mission statement with one caveat, and that caveat being that if the attorney comes back with us with legal advice saying that we need to change anything, that we're legally obligated to change anything in the mission statement, and then we'll address that at our next meeting or prior to.
Yeah. And also, if we would say Mr. Drake, because we've agreed to identify people, whenever we bring up their name or either the person that's making the motion. So Attorney Drake, if we would identify like that.
Absolutely. So the motion is to adopt the mission statement with one caveat being that Mr. Drake is going to get back to us with a more thorough legal analysis and let us know if we need to change anything. And if there's anything that needs to be changed, we'll do that when we meet again.
I understand. Thank you. I understand.
But I just want to make sure for Ms. Fanbro. That's good?
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Fanbro, thank you. And the second? Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Raffle has seconded them. We'll go down the line again. Mr. Napper?
No.
Ms. Fanbro?
Yes.
Ms. Hill?
No.
And Mr. Raffle?
Yes.
And again, I will cast a tie-breaking vote of a yes vote. So the mission statement is adopted, and we will look for Mr. Drake's feedback between now and our next meeting. All right, moving on to the next agenda item. It's the preview of Election Day. I believe Director Sosby's already given us a preview of the Election Day. Director Sosby, was there anything that you needed to add?
No, I do not have anything to add at this time.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yes, I do. I did find the markup of the boxes, and Aletha will be sending that out to you this afternoon. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Do any members have questions or comments about what's going to happen on Election Day?
I do have more questions than comments. It's my intention to visit every site. I had brought this up earlier. I'm going to start in the morning and try to visit them all. I just need some type of identification for myself to, I don't want to cause any disruptions with the work they're already doing by me coming in and observing.
Yes, we will get that, get you a identification. And yes, we'll have that ready for you.
If it is not too much trouble, I know you guys are real busy and you're doing a great job. If you all could send an email with all the polling places, addresses, the street addresses.
We'll send that to you this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments from board members about June 9th, Election Day? All right, moving right along to notice of meetings. So we received a request from a member of the community that we go above the minimum standard when it comes to providing notice of our meetings, and in the spirit of the law of making sure that everybody knows. We do everything we can to notify people of when the meeting's going to take place and where and what's on the agenda and everything. And they specifically mentioned that they would like for us to use social media more to notify people, and also to contact reporters directly, staff of a newspaper directly. Director Sosby, am I missing anything on that?
No, we don't contact directly. Actually, our CIO handles all of that as far as informing the media of our meetings, and we do just like all boards do, of course. When you vote on your yearly schedule, we provide it to all of our media sources. And if there's any special call meetings, we make sure that it's posted on our website and given to our PIO officers so that it can be disseminated to our other media sources. But not sure specifically of whose, which site, which media sources are on that list, but we contact our legal organ, which is, what we're supposed to do. But other than that, we don't.
Okay, and this person was asking that we utilize. So they wanted to make sure that you put it out on social media. Is that something that we've been doing?
I believe we put it on our Facebook page, but I'm not really sure. Maybe that's something we can do in the.
We do, Charlotte.
Okay, thank you, Pam.
I read the notice from the, where the citizen was, and she admitted that we were doing the application for the letter of the law, as she said. But she wanted us to go above and beyond that. And I think sometimes people don't understand if we do that, not huge budgetary concerns, but stuff is not free. If we can do some other stuff that is free at no cost, and when I say no cost, I mean, that involves staff hours. I'm inclined to be behind that, but at this time, I kind of feel like we've done a pretty good job. Even the board members themselves, I see you guys on Facebook talking about different things. So, it's just not something that really bothers me, what she was talking about. I think y'all do a good job at getting the word out and doing what's necessary and what you're supposed to be doing as far as the media, as far as any other outlet that we're supposed to be using, or the ACC website for us. So I would have graver concerns about something else rather than this.
So, and thank you, Sambro. I think, to my understanding, we use Facebook. The public is notified through Facebook, through our website, and through the newspaper. Is that accurate? That's what we just established, right? So as long as we're doing social media, our website, and the newspaper, I think that as long as we're doing it in advance, well enough in advance. I mean, obviously we're meeting the letter of the law, but just making sure that we do that as soon as we can, I guess. I think that said. Go ahead, sir.
I thought it might be wise if we, and you did meet the letter of the law, but it might be wise also to notify the flagpole, the email. I don't know. I mean, you don't have to by law, but to the sense of they are another source of news. That's really the only other media outlet I can think of here. Can you think of any more?
I think that's like a great idea, actually.
Red and black.
I've been thinking about.
Yes, I think you should look at maybe them too. Yes.
And also,
You're not required to. It's just,
yeah, maybe send them an email. And what's the other guy's name? Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, Classic City News.
Classic City,
That'd be a good one.
Even an email would be sufficient,
So email, I think, definitely is
I'm
sufficient.
just good evening, everyone. This is Deborah. I was on multiple calls at the same time. I just want to make clear that we're all speaking about the same thing, that the elections office can inform the PIO office of all of the different media that are to be informed of the meeting, but the elections office will not on its own be contacting the different media. I think that's what you're saying, but I want to confirm that that's where we are.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and that's exactly what we do.
So, just to clarify, so the board, will have met our legal obligation if we notify the PIO, make a request to the PIO.
Well, I may say that, the responsibility, and whether it's, I don't know, I think I would, the responsibility is to notify the legal organ, which was done in this case. It was done on a Saturday and an email was sent, but it still satisfied the statute. I will say too, with the Attorney General, I don't know if I ever looped y'all in. The Attorney General looked into this and I responded. They realized, they agreed we'd done the right thing, you're appropriate and all that. And I didn't read the letter as saying we violated the law. It's just saying, hey, in the spirit of transparency, can you try and provide greater notification? So as far as, I'm not sure whose responsibility it is. I would think it was staff to send that letter, send the email like they did I remember the staff sent that email to the Athens Banner Herald, which met the standard. I guess my point was it wouldn't be hard just to add the flagpole and red and black and the Classic City News to that email as well, but we're not required to, but and maybe the PI office can do that,
Yeah, I agree that's a good idea. I just want to make sure that, because what I'm hearing right now from some members of staff is that Board of Elections staff are not responsible for directly contacting media. But when we read the Open Meetings Act, it says that we're responsible for notifying the public. So I just need to know who specifically should be notifying the media.
Well, that's something we've got to decide. If it's not a member of the staff, somebody, I would think it's been done by staff in the past. It was done by staff in this instance, but if not, one of y'all needs to be designated with that responsibility. I would
No,
think.
I agree it should be staff. What I'm saying is, what I think I heard Assistant Manager Lennon say and Director Sosby say is that they contact PIO, PIO contacts media. But my concern is what happens if there's some sort of, something happens and it doesn't get from us to PIO to the media in a timely manner. Like, we're still on the hook for that, right? Or am I mistaken there?
Oh, you're right. It doesn't matter why the notice wasn't given. That all it's just be a fact it wasn't properly done. So that's not going to be an excuse. I just think confirming that. I would ask the election supervisor, who handles that now when there has to be notice of this meeting today? Who did that? It's no different.
Yes, so everything that is required of us to publicize, that means the Board of Elections yearly meeting schedule, which is required to provide to the legal organ. We usually do that in December so that they have the list. If there's any changes, we inform them of a meeting date change. Any legal notice that is required of us as a county elections office, we inform the legal organ, and then we inform our PIO, who also disseminates it to the other media sources and posts it on our website according to if it needs to be on the homepage or if it needs to be on the elections page.
Okay, so my question then is, could we as a board decide to notify not just the legal organ, but the red and black flagpole and Classic City News? And that could be done if we have a staff member already doing that to the online the Athens Banner Herald through email. We could just add those other 3 email addresses in there, and that would give those publications the option to put that out there to the public. Is that something that Director Sosby, can I have any feedback on that from you about that?
I was just told that all of the media sources is handled the way all of the other departments handle their media, and that's through the PIO officer. And and that office disseminates it to the other media sources. And my understanding, I've seen the list, I've seen those names that you've called out on that list. But no, we don't make direct contact with these sources. One thing, I believe there's a charge that if we if we put something out there like that. But if it's for information, My understanding is it's done by one person, not by our department.
Okay. So,
Mr. Evans, if I may,
go ahead.
there are policies and protocols in place for having all of our departments address things in the same fashion. But if the board is making a specific request, if you would just make that request either in the form of a motion right now, or if it's a directive, and then we can research it and have Director Sosby respond to you. But at this point, she's not authorized to change what's the normal protocol and procedure for all departments. But I think I hear what you're asking, and I think the goal is to make sure all information is timely provided to the media. What I stated before was about your regular meetings, but anything else that you're asking, if you could just make it more specific so we can get you a definitive answer.
Okay, so I guess I was referring to, and I believe other people might have been referring to, regular meetings, special meetings, any sort of notices that are put out to the public through the legal organ, that we would be putting them out to the other three publications that we would be discussing. And so I guess the motion would be that from here forward, all notices issued regarding Board of Elections operations and meetings, that those notices not only be issued, that those notices not only be given to the Athens-Clarke Herald, but also to the Flagpole, to the Red and Black, and to the Classic City News. That would be the motion. Does that make sense, Ms. Lennon?
It does, sir. And once we go through the second and everything that you want to do, what I will ask Director Salisbury to do, or her staff, is to get back with you with a written answer, and also let you know if we've been able to ascertain if costs will be associated with that.
Okay. Okay. So do we have a motion from a member of the board to that from here forward, all notices put out about board meetings and Board of Elections meetings and elections operations, that they be sent not only to the Athens-Clarke Herald, our legal organ, but also to the Red and Black, to the Flagpole, and to Classic City News.
Mr. Evans, do you mind asking, let me ask you this, I apologize. Is it that you want the motion, or you want us to come back with information about getting that done?
I'm asking a member right now for the motion,
Okay.
so we can move forward with that process you've described.
This is Mr. Raffle. I can make that motion with one addition. Would you like to discuss the addition first, or just have me make it?
You're welcome to go ahead and do it.
Okay, so I move that we make all future meeting notices to the Athens-Clarke Herald, Flagpole, Red and Black, and Classic City News, and the radio station WUGA, the public radio station for our area.
Okay. And do we have a second?
I second.
So a motion's been made by Mr. Raffle and seconded by Ms. Fambro, that all Board of Elections meetings notices be sent out to the Athens-Clarke Herald, to Flagpole, to Red and Black, to Classic City News, and also to WXAG.
I said WUGA, but I'm happy to include that as well.
Would you please amend
Yeah,
so that
I'd like to make an amendment to my motion to add WXAG to that list.
cool? And Ms. Fambro, is that suitable for your second? Say it again.
Yes.
Great. All right. So the motion and second is there. I'll go down the line. Mr. Napper.
I would vote yes on it if it is by
Say that one more time, Mr. Napper.
I would vote yes if it is approved by mayor and council first, that we do that. It seems as if we need to go through the PIO office, and that is the way that I know that, when I was with the school district, they we had to go through the public relations and before put the out into the public.
Could we have a member of staff clarify whether or not we would even, whether it would be necessary to get approval from the mayor and commission for something like this?
Mr. Evans?
Go ahead.
Mr. Evans, what I can say right now is I don't think that this operational step would need to go through Mayor and Commission, but what may have to go through Mayor and Commission if added cost, or if there will be added cost for some of these media venues. So for example, if you're asking staff to post, or I'm sorry, if you're asking staff to post meetings on our social media, there are no costs associated with that. But if you're asking staff to pay for an ad with the red and black or with all these other venues every single time there's a meeting and there's a cost associated with that, that may not be something that we're permitted to do. But what I suggested is that staff get back to you with an answer as to the feasibility of this and what the process is. I understand the motion is telling us to do it, but I was asking staff to get the information to you about feasibility and cost.
Okay. So Mr. Napper, I believe that the only way that the mayor and commission become involved is if there's a funding concern for that. And that's actually kind of already rolled into the understanding of the motion. Is that suitable for you?
Yeah, but if that is the case, then I will vote yes if that is the case.
Okay.
Can I clarify my motion? I guess more so make a question or.
Go for it.
Yeah, so my understanding is simply instructing the PIO office to include these people on an email. My understanding is not that we're buying ads in each media outlet. We're simply sending a press release and making sure that these multiple media are included in our press release. That's my motion. We're not making a motion to buy a quarter-page ad in the flagpole that costs $300, I believe, or something. I don't know. The number's not accurate, but
So just to notify those publications of the meetings, so that they can do with that what they will, whether that be online or.
it's just like any press release, anything. We're not going out and buying ads into red and black radio spots. This is just simply a press release. If they choose to report it in their news, then that's that.
Okay. So
Mr. Raffle, is that through the PIO office? You're suggesting this to go through the PIO office and then they can disseminate it to whomever we would like?
Yes, I understand this as us instructing them to send it to more than just the Athens Banner Herald.
yeah, I see Ms. Hand.
We're into a real heavy discussion here, and I want to backtrack to what Ms. Lannon said. Could we not? And I don't want to replace your motion, Rocky, but my suggestion is that we table this until we have the proper information. And Ms. Lannon, at this point, I think she understands that we're not trying to advertise, and for me, it's more or less of a public service announcement, or on that wise. And if when you're dealing with newspapers and radios, because it's absolutely for the public. But if we could get some clarity on this, because at this point, I think for me, we're just kind of going like round and round.
Yeah, and I
And
think
the thing that the thing that I'm wanting to know is ultimately who does this, and and how much of this are we allowed to do at no cost to the Board of Elections? If I get those two questions answered, then I can have a right mind to know what I'm voting on and you know, what's really going on and how this thing really works.
All right, I'm going to withdraw my motion on that.
So the motion's adjourned, and then we're just, I guess, directing staff to do the research to determine what our options are when it comes to like disseminating information through those four publications, those three additionals. Well, actually, so Flagpole, Red and Black, Classic City News, WUGA, and WXAG. You know, if we send out a press release to them, are they going to ask us, for, you know, if they're going to ask us for money for them to publish it, you know, how much that would cost, things like that, or if they're going to, they would go ahead and just announce that as a public service announcement. That's what we're directing staff to do. Is that accurate, Ms. Fambro?
Yes, on that wise, yes, something like that.
Should we make a motion, or can we just like, that's basically, we're directing staff to do that now?
I would think that they would do that voluntarily. They're so nice down there. They don't, you know, they don't mind. Do y'all?
Director Sosby?
No, we don't mind. Ms. Will, I like that smile.
All right, cool. All right, so then thank you. We'll look for that between now and our next meeting. And moving on to there, item number 400, new business. There was an issue that was brought to my attention and to staff's attention as well about a voter voting electronically. They voted in advance voting back in March for the presidential preference primary, and then they came and voted, like they were given an electronic ballot with that presidential preference primary on it again. During this advanced voting that we're doing right now, and they did that in May, and when they realized what had happened, like, so they cast the ballot, they left, and then they were like, man, I don't think that should have happened, and they came back in and talked to staff about it, and they told me that that staff identified that he had indeed voted in March, and his message to me was that he was told that staff canceled his March ballot. However, Director Sosby, do you want to clarify what took place?
Yes, as explained, as you explained, yes, the ballot would have been canceled. And it was after he had left the second time that we realized it was not an absentee ballot per se that had been marked by paper, sealed in an envelope that we could pull and cancel. Therefore, because it was cast electronically, there's no way to cancel a ballot because they are secret ballots. So, it's a duplicate vote, basically.
And you have protocols in place now to prevent that?
Yes, we did put something in place. First, we are making note on the application what ballot we're issuing, if it's a combined ballot or just a general primary ballot, because it basically turns out to be the voter's word against ours if we don't put something on the application. And then we're having a conversation with the voter to say, specifically, we see that you voted already for the PPP, therefore your ballot would only have general primary candidates on it, or we're saying we see that you did not vote in the PPP, so you will receive a combined ballot today. So explaining to the voter what kind of ballot they're receiving, so that when they get to the ballot marking device, they will verify that they have that type of ballot. And of course, by law, we have to have a sign inside of the booth that says that if you've received this ballot in error, or notice that you have some concerns about your ballot prior to casting, please let the poll worker know of this information. So the state law covers us as well as the conversation. And then we have indication on the application what we have issued to the voter, so that there isn't a his word or her word against ours.
Thank you. And then my only concern now, as long as we're not going to run into that again, two concerns. One is, you know, this could be, if it happened here, it could be happening in counties across the state. And I'm wondering what the Secretary of State's office is doing to prevent that. And then two is, if we can't cancel a ballot in this situation naturally, like we're not allowed to, we can't identify the ballot, because there's no name attached to the ballot once the data is put into the system. Then, what is is the Secretary of State able to, is there like an affidavit that a person could sign, or, or how are we going to, how can the Secretary of State or us, how can we prevent duplicate votes like that? Like once they're already cast, is there a way to go back in on the back end for the Secretary of State's office or for that voter or for us to like fix that? Or is that just going to be that person voted twice in an election?
Yes, there's nothing when something is done electronically, there's no way when it comes to voting, there's no way of going back and taking it back.
Local level or state level?
No, because then somebody could come in. I mean, let's be realistic about this. If I came in, if I wanted to manipulate the system and I came in and say I voted for this person, but oh, by the way, I voted twice, then I'll tell you who I voted for. Number one, I violated my secrecy. Number two, did I tell you who the right person I voted for? By law, there's nothing we can do.
Okay. And there's no like sworn affidavit or something that they could do and confirm that they voted twice by looking at the system. But as far as like the content of their vote, there's no way that they could do a sworn affidavit or something so that we could rectify that?
No, I don't think there is anything we can do. The only thing that I see in the law is in the 21-2 it's in the 500s that if a voter has voted twice, we don't want to get into that, and knowingly voted twice, we really don't want to get into that. So what we did is we corrected it on our end so that it doesn't happen again. And because we can really get into some legal trouble, not just us, the voter can. So we don't want that happening. So we corrected the problem so that it doesn't happen again. And moving forward, we implemented a procedure that it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, and I don't think that this voter actually consciously did that. I don't think that they were like, I'm voting twice in this election. I don't think they understood that.
Would he sign an affidavit to say that?
Say it again.
Would you think he'd sign an affidavit to say that?
It says that he didn't realize that this was going to be 2 votes in one election. I don't know. We'd have to follow up with him about that. But my concern right now is we all swore oaths to like ensure that that we're following the law, elections laws, and that the votes cast that we send up, the count is correct and accurate and all that. So like, now we know, now we're aware that a voter voted twice, and if we sign off on this, this is maybe a question for Mr. Drake. Like, are we legally like violating our oaths? If we sign off on an election when we know that a person has voted twice.
We're not going against our oath if we make a mistake. We would go against our oath if we do something intentional and we not fix it, that it not happen again. Then yes, I would say we're going against our oath. But to say that somebody didn't do it fairly, process it fairly, to say that somebody didn't do it, that they were trying to break the law.
They weren't. It was an accident.
That's not what happened. That's not what happened with the clerk either. It was an error.
I'm not saying the clerk, I'm saying the board. When we sit down and certify this election, where are we legally with knowing that there's been a person casting 2 votes accidentally, but we can't do anything about that? Where does that leave us legally when we're certifying this election? That's my question. And again, Ms. Sosby, Director Sosby, like your inputs, like requested and welcome, but also Mr. Drake, maybe this is something that you can get back to us on. Mr. Drake, are you there?
Mr. Evans, Mr. Drake may have left as we have a budget meeting that starts in 2 minutes and I'm about to leave also. But if the minutes can just, if we can capture this request of him in the minutes, then Charlotte, if you can just follow up with him, please, so he can provide some additional input for the Board of Elections members.
Thank you, Ms. Manager. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. At this point, I will excuse myself.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Okay, any board members have any questions or comments about? All right, moving on down to the announcements. It looks like we have 4 meetings coming up. The next meeting will be the Election Day meeting at June 9th. And Dr. Sosby, I believe you said 5 p.m. Is that accurate?
Yes, if that's the time that you want to meet.
But is that what you're recommending?
I would think so because of all that's going on that day with tabulation of absentee ballots and results coming in. I think 5 o'clock would be good, but it wouldn't be good for you to have a meeting longer than 2 hours that day.
Okay. And board members, your input on that? Your mic's muted, Ms. Manbro.
June 9th at
June
the
9th, 5 p.m.
the Lexington office, at the Lexington site.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just want to, make sure my notes are correct.
And Mr. Raffle?
Yeah, I just, as previously mentioned in the meeting, I plan to visit all the sites, or as many as I can. And I'll plan on being at the office at 5, or the Lexington Road location.
Mr. Napper?
I will be there at 5.
And Ms. Till?
I will be there at 5.
Great. The next one is the provisional ballot reconciliation meeting, June 16th. Director Sosby, did you have a time in mind for that? Did you say a certain time earlier?
3 o'clock is what I have. But if you could meet sooner, that would be great. So that, none of us are still getting overtime on that day. That would be great if we could meet sooner and have the time that we need to present these ballots to you for consideration.
What's the earliest that it would be good for you?
1 o'clock would be good.
Okay, board members, is there discussion about that? Is that suitable, 1 o'clock?
What day is that on?
It's a Tuesday, June 16th.
Okay.
Could you hold on 2 minutes and I'll check my calendar? Tuesday, June 16th at 1 o'clock, yes?
Yep.
Okay, stand by.
1 o'clock is all right with me.
I'm good.
One is okay with me.
I'm sorry, Ann, go ahead.
1 is okay with me.
Yeah, that should work for me as well.
Okay, so June 16th at 1 o'clock at the Lexington Road facility.
Lexington again, okay.
And then the next meeting is after that is election certification. June 18th, which is that Thursday. Director Sosby, do you have a recommended time?
I have down 3, but you want to do 1 o'clock again?
3 is a preference for me because my wife is teaching summer classes, so evening is, it's not evening, but the later in the day, the better for me. So 3, if possible.
Ambro?
Fine, 3 p.m. is good.
Mr. Napper?
Either of those times are fine with me. Just let me know.
And Ms. Till?
3 is good.
So 3 p.m. on June 18th at the Lexington Road facility, facility management building at 255 Lexington Road. The last meeting is a regular meeting, and it's scheduled for July 7th. We have had some issues with meeting on Tuesdays. Do you guys want to Tuesday or Wednesday like we did this time at 3:30? July 8th at 3:30.
I will be out of town.
Okay.
Can we do,
Or just getting back.
There's a chance my wife could be in the hospital. We're expecting a baby. She's due on the 10th, but there's a chance I may be absent from that meeting.
Okay.
With 2 people gone, does that satisfy the quorum to even have a meeting?
Wait, 3 is a quorum, so we can still meet. As Mr. Napper and Ms. Till can be there.
Tuesday actually is a better day for me than Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, with the due date on the 10th, Tuesday's better than Wednesday in theory for us too. So,
Cool. Rocky, do you see that message that just popped up? Director Sosby.
Thank you.
So it'll be Tuesday at 3:30. That's what we've been doing with our regular meetings.
That would be fine if we can get out in an hour, hour and a half to,
Okay. So Mr. Napper, 3:30 works for you Tuesday, and Ms. Till.
Tuesday's better for me.
Okay, Tuesday at 3:30, and Rocky, Tuesday at 3:30 is good.
Yeah, as of right now, of course, if something happens, I'll notify you all. So
Thank you. And Ms. Fanberg, you said you're gonna be out of town. You're muted. Mike's muted.
Send me the information like you did, the WebEx information. I might be in a spot where I can be in attendance. You know, maybe we're on the road or whatever. I'm just traveling in the vehicle. You know, I'm not controlling it. So if you all send me that information and I can buzz in, I'll do that. Okay.
Great. All right. So then that puts our July 7th meeting at 3:30.
A quick question, is that going to be a virtual meeting or are you back to meeting in person?
That was my next question as well.
Virtual.
The emergency order expires on June 15th, right?
Everything will, as far as I know about that kind of thing, will expire on June 12th. But you would have to refer to someone else besides me for that.
my preference is virtual so that myself and Willa could join if our circumstances or allow.
Yes, and it's my understanding that it's recommended by the government that we remain with the virtual meetings until further notice. But I
Okay.
do know that on Tuesday, we'll have the meeting Tuesday, we'll just have the public virtual, but you guys will be in person
Sure.
on that though.
You mean this upcoming election day?
That's correct.
Okay. But as far as July 7th goes, still, so as it stands, it's going to be virtual until you hear otherwise from the local government.
I will need some direction, or someone will have to give me some direction about how to let the
Yeah.
public in virtually on that meeting on the 9th.
That's June 9th.
Mhm.
Lisa, I'm working on that. I've been in touch with our PIO and I'm gonna work on that and see what we can do so that we won't tie up your technology for the processing of absentee ballots. I got you.
Okay, thank you.
And really and truly, we can just have our computers or devices there at the facility and have the similar setup, but we'll just be in person. And then for the benefit of the public, we could have it streamed like this.
Yeah, there's rooms where they can broadcast from a boardroom type thing. I've done it before.
We're going to be at the Lexington Road. But anyways, okay.
The PIO office can handle it. I have full confidence.
Okay, cool. So we got dates and times set. Are there any closing thoughts or any other announcements before we adjourn?
I would like to add to our voters, I know you guys are really supposed to have this moment, but I would like to remind our voters the importance of the recommendation from our state, from our governor, and plus our board, that if you plan to vote, we ask that you vote early. By absentee, by all means, contact our office if you have any questions about your ballots. We do remind it that we have our drop boxes, and we're ready for election day, and we just want everybody who wants to vote, they are able to vote. And of course, if you don't vote early, go to the polls from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on election day.
Thank you. And our absentee ballot drop boxes are at the Board of Elections office downtown, at the fire station number 7 in East Athens off of Barnett Shoals Road and College Station. They're at the library, ACC Public Library on Baxter, and
Multimodal.
Multimodal, yeah, downtown at the Athens Transit Multimodal Center downtown.
And fingers crossed, a miracle will happen and we'll have it at the cooperative extension tomorrow.
Yeah, hopefully that happens. Cool. All right. Any other closing thoughts or announcements?
Question,
Go ahead.
how, did anyone tune into the meeting yesterday?
Say it again.
Did anyone tune into the meeting yesterday?
Yes.
Any news on that or what's going on?
The commission. Talking about the mayor commission meeting.
I thought I saw on an email that the Secretary of State was having a meeting.
Oh yes, that was just a training session for processing back, like for early tabulation, for like, and it was like also for the voter review panel and how to like do reconciliation digitally and manually. Like it was just a training thing that I wanted to make sure that everybody on the board had access to if they wanted to learn more about that.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And thank you to staff for providing access to that. I want to say that I appreciate staff and everything they're doing. I know this has been some trying, unusual times with COVID-19, but also with, moving these dates, these election dates, and also with the new equipment, so we're dealing with a lot. And I think that we're all working hard together to make sure we do what's best for the voters in our county. And I appreciate the work that staff and the board are doing. Is there anything else before we adjourn? All right. So do we need a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Thank you, Ms. Fambro. And a second. That was Mr. Napper made this the second. And Mr. Napper, your vote on that?
All right.
Ms. Fambro? Ms. Fambro?
I said aye.
Okay. Ms. Till?
Aye.
And Mr. Raffle?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Thank you all very much. We appreciate you. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody.